It is my view that the deceitful way the interview was obtained substantially influenced what my mother said. The interview was a major contribution to making my parents' relationship worse and has since hurt countless others. She's achieved, and it's quite a moment for her.
It began with a single conversation and concluded with royal funds vanishing. Camilla's former husband revealed far more than intended, exposing realities nobody anticipated. Prince William acted immediately. His response was instant and unforgiving. All monetary assistance terminated. What reached his ears, and why did it transform the entire situation? Within the palace corridors, the consequences are just beginning to unfold. Come with us as we uncover the reality. The audio that shattered the quiet. The palace awakens the crisis. The morning at Kensington Palace began like any other, with golden light streaming through windows and personnel preparing for their duties. Yet something had shifted in the air. The typical tranquility had vanished, overtaken by an atmosphere of tension. Hushed conversations and urgent inquiries echoed through corridors, while regular morning briefings gave way to uncomfortable quiet. An unexpected development had emerged, taking everyone off guard. Everything transformed the instant Prince William put pen to paper on one document. The palace descended into turmoil as telephones buzzed incessantly, and counselors were summoned immediately. High-ranking officials found themselves in crisis meetings before their morning tea had cooled. The burning question of what was unfolding spread through the corridors like wildfire. By midday, the entire royal household understood the reality. Prince William had executed an unprecedented and calculated move. He had entirely eliminated all monetary connections between Crown and Queen Camilla's family members. No warnings preceded it, no slow withdrawal, just an immediate and total cessation. For years, Camilla's relatives had quietly benefited from royal support, hidden through complex arrangements, investment portfolios, honorary positions, and charitable allocations. All had been structured carefully, technically legitimate, yet never fully transparent. Now it had evaporated entirely. Media frenzy erupts. The press pounced instantly. Major outlets began broadcasting with explosive headlines. Royal family in crisis. Prince William halts Camilla family funding. Monarchy in turmoil. Those beyond the palace gates could only theorize. Within, anxiety was mounting. Royal employees found themselves bewildered. Confidential exchanges occurred between assistants. Counselors held closed-door sessions, and all shared the identical concern. What drove this? Was it about finances, authority, or something far more personal? Prince William maintained his silence, providing no justification or explanation for his decision. Rather, he pressed forward with a determination that even his inner circle found disturbing. Some interpreted his manner as heartless, others as composed. But those who truly understood him recognized this was an impulsive act or simple retaliation. This was a calculated choice motivated by something intensely personal. Whatever that motivation, it had fundamentally shifted his view of everything. The damning recording. The catalyst was discovered in an audio file. A single voice making an admission. This intimate recording was never meant to leave the family's private collection. Once exposed, the consequences couldn't be reversed. The speaker was Andrew Parker Bowles, Camilla's former spouse. This wasn't a formal interview. No studio setup or prepared statements. Merely a man in his home, creating a message for his descendants. He intended to preserve his memories, insights, and perhaps some guidance. His tone carried no resentment, only genuine exhaustion. He spoke gently, occasionally hesitating to select his phrases carefully. He discussed his existence, his union, and the woman who remained at its core, Camilla. His words weren't meant to sensationalize. He spoke with restraint and melancholy, yet with underlying significance. He characterized his marriage as being systematically deconstructed, not simply as a romance that ended. He avoided direct attacks on Camilla or explicit accusations. Yet as he continued, a pattern began forming. An image of Camilla as more than merely a former spouse or monarch emerged. Andrew revealed previously unnoticed details, choices made, patterns established, and actions taken. He described how Camilla managed money matters, exercised influence over private matters with finesse, and cultivated relationships with powerful figures. He noted her ability to navigate social circles elegantly, consistently departing with advantages secured, while offering no shocking disclosures. The cumulative effect suggested Camilla wasn't merely swept along by circumstances. Rather, she actively shaped her path with calculated accuracy and sophistication. Everything appeared orchestrated from the beginning. The recording reaches William. The audio was intended for public consumption, yet escaped containment. Various explanations exist for its release, perhaps mistakenly shared to a family server or deliberately exposed. Once released, it circulated among select individuals before spreading through personal messages and private networks. Ultimately, it reached Prince William, the one person never meant to hear it. He listened to Palace in chaos. The repercussions were immediate within the palace. Counselors scrambled frantically, blindsided and uninformed about developments. Outside, the press overflowed with speculation and theories. Was this vengeance, a shift in royal hierarchy, or a calculated power play? Yet the truth remained concealed from most, understood by only a handful. Even among those few, none ventured to discuss the recording directly. It had become the unspoken core of a royal controversy. William never addressed it publicly. He didn't need to. His deeds conveyed his position clearly. His wordless stance became the most powerful declaration in the palace. As the royal household moved forward, everything felt altered. Despite sensational headlines, a fundamental truth persists. Profound transformations can occur silently. They don't always arrive with dramatic declarations, but through quiet acts, a signature applied, a choice to remain wordless. It can be when someone who never believed their input counted finally speaks, and an individual who's reached their limit finally acts. Consequently, everything has shifted, the hidden network exposed. The source wasn't a journalist, tabloid publication, or anonymous informant. It was someone with significant authority who had lived in proximity to her, witnessing her during private times when guards were lowered. His delivery was measured and steady, not frantic or bitter, but carrying a subtle conviction that made his account impossible to dismiss. William sensed a calmness that impacted him beyond any press report. No statistics, documents, or financial records were offered as proof. Only a verbal testimony from someone who experienced and recalled each moment existed. This wasn't a narrative of dramatic betrayal or explosive controversy. Rather, it depicted strategy and measured ambition evolving gradually across years, like vines slowly climbing castle walls. The witness claimed she hadn't simply built relationships, she had constructed a framework. Beyond making connections, she forged partnerships. Rather than just acquiring properties, she wove them into broader networks. Her financial dealings were executed with such sophistication, utilizing layers so subtle that even seasoned professionals would need careful examination to detect them. At the center stood Camilla, frequently perceived as a background figure, graciously smiling at functions. She presented herself with poise and appeal, yet underneath operated a tactical intellect. The observer who knew her intimately asserted that her deliberate moves developed progressively over years. For Prince William, this exceeded mere storytelling. It represented a critical point in his comprehension. Throughout his existence, he had encountered indirect whispers and dismissed sensational media tales. However, this instance was different. It was authentic testimony that struck personally. The narrator wasn't unfamiliar. He had experienced it firsthand. He sought neither retribution nor publicity, simply conveying his lived experience. Before the crown, Andrew and Camilla, prior to the attention and controversy, there existed simply Camilla and Andrew. Their romance predated any royal connections. Camilla was an engaging young woman, while Andrew served as a self-assured cavalry officer. Their paths crossed at a polo event in the 1960s. The environment buzz of refined leather, manicured lawns, and sparkling wine, an ideal backdrop for romances to spark with joy and create enduring memories. Camilla didn't blend with the assembly. She was distinctive. Her uninhibited laughter, daring humor, and casual bearing contrasted with the nobility surrounding her. Yet that distinctiveness created her appeal and draw for Andrew. Her vitality captivated him, and they swiftly became inseparable. Their radiance together made them society's focus. Their wedding was considered bold and exciting. Andrew possessed royal associations, while Camilla brought countryside heritage. Together, they appeared ideally matched, combining heritage with modernity. They established themselves at Bolhide Manor, an elegant residence featuring expansive windows, manicured grounds, and cherished photographs. Yet the interior reality differed from external appearances. Andrew admitted his imperfections. He acknowledged his flaws. Yet he maintained the core problem wasn't their disputes or time apart. It originated from her growing hunger for something more. She wasn't pursuing romance or variety, but seeking to extend her influence. She desired increased power, authority, and autonomy to direct her existence as she wished. Charles enters the picture. Charles's arrival was incremental, not sudden or scandalous, but steady, like observing a shadow gradually advancing across a room. Extended telephone conversations began, private meetings increased, and London visits multiplied. Nobody expressed surprise. Charles and Camilla's lengthy connection was widely known. Yet Andrew sensed this occasion was distinct. Their relationship had transformed beyond simple attraction. It concerned their mutual journey ahead. Andrew observed that Camilla hadn't merely become enamored with royalty. She had aligned with destiny. He viewed their marriage as a passage, a corridor she traversed rather than a destination she inhabited. When he finally understood, she had all the financial web uncovered. Years following initial speculation, Royal Treasury auditors uncovered something troubling that captured William's focus. Annually, exceeding £5 million flowed to Camilla's family through diverse channels: educational grants, residential support, advisory roles with obscure entities, and minor positions in unknown groups. The funds didn't arrive suddenly. They trickled consistently over years. It resembled a woman's generous family support. Yet when William's team investigated deeper, it appeared more systematic, rewarding allegiance over merit. This arrangement avoided public scrutiny while functioning backstage. This prompted a fresh evaluation of Camilla's conduct. Publicly, she displayed elegance and restraint as a stabilizing figure. Yet within palace walls, something felt amiss. Discussions occurred in whispers while tension thickened. Doubt persisted as fingers hesitated over paperwork, and documents received repeated scrutiny. The discomfort continued intensifying. William, raised to evaluate all angles and avoid rash conclusions, faced something undeniable. The narrator's steady, assured tone echoed in William's thoughts, persuading the testimony was authentic despite absent documentation. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't fortune. This was strategic positioning. Every element, each exchange, all choices held meaning. William finally grasped that sovereignty wasn't merely displayed publicly, but controlled by those skilled in background manipulation. And Camilla had apparently been positioning pieces throughout. The day everything changed. When Prince William absorbed the recording, his worldview shifted. The sound transformed from mere background noise into tangible evidence, initiating something more substantial. Rather than personal anguish, he confronted stark realities: paperwork, figures, and data forming a disturbing image. Nothing violated laws or crossed criminal lines. Yet something remained unsettling to William, particularly considering his approaching kingship. Within a traditionally peaceful palace where customs typically resist transformation, the environment grew charged. William reviewed papers repeatedly, becoming increasingly disturbed with each examination. The documents showed identities, transactions, charitable contributions, and optional disbursements. Unmistakable trends emerged that defied simple explanation. though never explicitly documented. The proof suggested Queen Camilla's family had received financial backing through palace assets, not unlawfully, but covertly. The advisors divided. Veteran counselors recommended patience. They had weathered controversies and survived greater storms previously. They advocated silence as the optimal strategy. However, younger members dissented, unbound by quiet traditions. They prioritized transparency and accountability. They believed silence would signal endorsement, which was unacceptable. William spoke minimally. He absorbed perspectives attentively, considering both viewpoints. The critical decision. One morning before sunrise, he surprised everyone by avoiding dramatic reactions. He convened a confidential assembly before daybreak. With only essential participants, his reliable advisors, attorneys, financial specialists, and veteran personnel, this gathering remained classified without recordings, disclosures, or interruptions. It was a grave and hushed dialogue conducted privately. Central to everything lay a challenging question. Should the monarchy persist in supporting something misaligned with their principles? This exceeded financial concerns. It touched their core values. They weren't attempting harm, but establishing parameters with subtlety yet firmness. Catherine stayed beside him throughout. Despite continuing her healing process, she provided support. She avoided pushing or commanding, yet her attendance proved reassuring and meaningful. She provided a single gentle suggestion, which William acknowledged and comprehended, though he already knew his course. That evening brought restlessness. He walked palace hallways alone, absorbed in contemplation. Nighttime silence surrounded him while his thoughts raced. He revisited documents, lingering at familiar passages. He considered not merely as offspring, but as future sovereign. Morning brought readiness. No dramatic speeches or passionate addresses occurred. Just one document sufficed. Brief, precise, and final. His signature below formalized everything. Henceforth, all monetary support for Queen Camilla's extended relatives would end. This eliminated retainers, discreet grants from established charities, and subsidiary assistance from remote trusts. The concealed mechanism operating for decades was definitively terminated. The immediate aftermath. Palace time seemed suspended. The environment transformed instantly. Advisors exchanged worried glances. Veteran personnel froze, uncertain about proceeding. Even Camilla's nearest aides expressed shock. No alert preceded this. Nobody had prepared. Media outlets reacted swiftly. Once information emerged, headlines dominated. William severs royal connections. Palace conflict intensifies. Camilla's family expelled. National responses came rapidly. Some applauded William's courage for confronting what many felt required attention long ago. The Cold War within. No violent confrontations occurred. No palace arguments erupted. No exit slammed. Yet any perceptive individual could detect it. Something had transformed. Palace temperature dropped. Dialogues grew strained. Previously open passages stayed closed. Former friends now merely acknowledged each other distantly. The monarchy, once perceived as unified, appeared fractured. King Charles faced an impossible position. Publicly, he attempted supporting both spouse and heir. Privately, complexity reigned. Both William and Camilla held profound importance for him. Their bonds were precious, now divided between them. He struggled maintaining both relationships. Discreet attempts at reconciliation occurred, subtle invitations and intermediary communications, but all failed. William preserved distance while Camilla withdrew further. Their non-communication wasn't merely awkward but deliberate. Camilla began withdrawing from scheduled appearances. Those commitments disappeared from her calendar. Her cheerful public persona began fading. Yet her silence didn't signal weakness. Instead, she was methodically planning. She conducted sessions, examined legal options, and strategized within palace confines. She wasn't fighting publicly, but organizing privately. Associates described her as not merely wounded, but primarily furious. Her anger wasn't explosive or chaotic, but icy and precise disappointment. She interpreted William's moves as treachery, not personally alone, but institutionally. The monarchy had consistently managed problems discreetly and internally, yet William's actions violated this custom. The palace divides. All eyes focus on developments. Hushed discussions echoed palace-wide. Individuals questioned if this marked something larger. They pondered whether others might align with William. They debated if the establishment could survive public discord between heir and queen. These remained questions without responses. The damage exceeded emotions. It was institutional. Staff began choosing allegiances. Longtime partners struggled with mutual trust. Meeting atmospheres chilled. Decisions required extended deliberation. Though unvoiced, strain constantly lurked underneath. William persisted unchanged, maintaining his course. He fulfilled engagements, though his bearing altered, more subdued and grave. His choice's burden was evident, yet regret was absent. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't vindictive. This was principled action. When principles were tested, he couldn't look away. He established boundaries. Once crossed, reversal became impossible. Palace tremors persisted. Media theorized. Previous staff shared stories. Every minor gesture faced examination. Yet nobody genuinely understood what would follow. Despite intense observation, the genuine shift had already happened, not publicly or documented, but internally where a future monarch wordlessly determined, no more. That quiet resolution, documented on a single sheet, transformed royal destiny. The royal divide deepens. What seemed unshakable was now gradually fracturing, not through explosive conflicts or public declarations, but in subtle instances where faith dissolved. The protective barrier surrounding royalty was starting to crack. Through everything, Prince William stayed steady. He didn't rage or withdraw. He maintained his obligations consistently, projecting identical public composure. Yet, inside palace boundaries, transformation was complete. Everything originated from one decision, initially meant as internal family business, managed privately. However, in royal circles, confidentiality rarely endures. Soon, that single choice evolved into something far greater. Media erupted, broadcasts hummed with developments, and online platforms buzzed with discussion. Abruptly, a controversy once limited to noble spheres became global news. Commonwealth reactions. Details rapidly traveled throughout Commonwealth nations after departing palace grounds. The astonishment exceeded monetary or power concerns. It struck deeper. It questioned confidence, legacy, and whether this ancient crown still belonged in modern times. Australian officials didn't hesitate, discussing matters. Subtle conversations about monarchical relevance had occurred privately for years. Now these dialogues went public. In Parliament, respected representatives posed questions. They asked if severing British Crown connections was overdue. They questioned why distant royalty maintained such sway over an independent nation. These inquiries had waited, demanding answers now. Canada promptly joined. Their discussions reflected comparable feelings. Many began challenging royal emblems in routine life, their money, legislation, and childhood tales. For some, the sovereign's image on currency transcended tradition. It reminded them of something seemingly misplaced. The transformation concept, previously remote, now seemed urgent and necessary. Caribbean nations like Jamaica and St. Vincent, historically linked to Britain, began vocally seeking autonomy. Their populations and leaders felt dismissed. 3 factions emerged. Behind palace barriers, another crisis developed. Not vocal, yet equally powerful. This wasn't about reporters or public opinion, but crucial choices carrying major implications. Every decision potentially created substantial effects. 3 separate groups formed among royalty and counselors. The first faction advocated total openness as the path ahead. They supported disclosing everything, exposing documentation, and demonstrating complete honesty. They acknowledged difficulties and increased scrutiny, yet believed it would eliminate conjecture. Circumstances had exceeded family concerns. This was now a test, nationally and internationally, determining if monarchy could handle complete responsibility. The second faction pursued different methods. They sought reconciliation without publicity. They suggested confidential discussions between Prince William, King Charles, and Camilla. They opposed interviews and press participation, believing the three could settle matters privately. They felt resolution remained achievable through dialogue, monetary modifications, and public pledges for improvement. This faction trusted that effective interaction between principal parties could still resolve tensions. The third faction emerged, the eldest, most conventional members. They advocated strategic inactivity. They favored making no statements or moves. Their philosophy involved patience, allowing news attention to fade. They argued monarchical strength derived from endurance. They referenced surviving previous conflicts, controversies, and governmental upheavals. They questioned changing approaches now and resisting demands. King Charles's dilemma. Yet every alternative proved challenging. Each choice carried ramifications. Every move potentially widened family divisions. Central to everything stood King Charles, experiencing unprecedented difficulty. Supporting Camilla might further alienate William, the monarchy's future, who could feel abandoned. Conversely, backing William could profoundly wound Camilla following her steadfast support through challenges. No simple solution existed. Every path seemed to cause suffering. Palace voices multiplied, yet one inquiry dominated. Could they return to before? The British crown had persisted through adaptability for ages. It had transformed to maintain significance. Yet current circumstances differed. This exceeded appearances. It concerned identity. It questioned whether royalty still embodied values deserving public backing. Global attention wasn't merely interested, but resolved. Governments, populations, and past supporters all contemplated identically. Without current changes, will sovereignty remain meaningful tomorrow? While Prince William continued obligations, Charles stayed silent, and Camilla faced difficulties. Clearly, the narrative remained incomplete. Future developments would profoundly affect monarchical existence and prospects. When smiles fade, the strained bond. The British monarchy has captivated global audiences for decades. They've watched the grins, gestures, and measured statements, creating harmony's illusion. Yet not every palace relationship flows smoothly. Prince William and Queen Camilla's connection has consistently carried subdued strain. Not open warfare, but enduring, wordless pressure containing frigid expressions and unvoiced sentiments. These tensions extend deeper than most realize. Prince William's childhood witnessed confusing transformations. His devoted mother, Princess Diana, showed warmth not only toward her boys, but everyone nearby. Yet even young William detected what others missed. The melancholy behind her gaze and isolation she attempted concealing. He noticed her smile's alterations and instances when joy seemed forced. Throughout this, Camilla lingered, the shadow of the past. Originally, Camilla represented merely a title spoken softly backstage. William noticed her mother's quietness whenever mentioned. Growing older, those murmurs gained importance. He comprehended her identity's significance, her importance to his father, and the personal price his mother paid. Following Diana's death, grief remained. Years passed without complete healing. William treasured maternal memories intensely. He remembered bedtime comfort and encouragement during difficulties. Camilla's family arrival felt like reopening wounds. Publicly, they sustained courteous appearances. At functions, Camilla and William appear together, exchanging smiles and brief remarks. Yet underneath existed distance, not obvious or theatrical, but delicate, remote, and careful. William avoided scenes yet didn't embrace openly. He kept considerate space, consistently calculated and controlled. Camilla proceeded carefully, understanding her position. She recognized Diana's unique position in her stepson's hearts. Despite queen status, she never achieved true maternal connection. Harry's relationship proved more relaxed. With William, barriers remained evident, growing responsibilities. William's maturation brought increased royal obligations, clarifying his position. Beyond prince status, future sovereignty brought immense demands. These included requirements, responsibilities, and working alongside those potentially disagreeable. Camilla became not just family but institutional component, increasing complications. Each public interaction required rehearsal and meticulous planning. Genuine appearing smiles prevented speculation, while friendly-seeming contact satisfied cameras. Yet family intimates detected pressure. In conversational pauses, William's shifting face when Camilla entered and his careful distance maintenance. Still, William stayed professional communicating. Personal feelings didn't affect public duties. However, he never exceeded requirements interacting with her. No public birthday warmth or role praise appeared. He simply met obligations without extras. Marriage to Catherine added complexity. His expanding family required fierce protection. Children and spouse took priority while Camilla stayed distant. William rejected anyone potentially disrupting created harmony. He watched for the day Prince William chose truth over tradition. Throughout controversy, Prince William displayed unwavering strength. Despite surrounding opinions, he stayed serene and collected. His expression revealed neither uncertainty nor anxiety. While others discussed and audiences awaited news, William stood firm. Within his quiet stability, transformation occurred. Many witnesses identified this as his evolution from simple successor to authentic leader, someone beyond following orders, now controlling fate. He didn't invoke history justifying choices. He didn't attribute concealed truth to custom. He stood independently, assured, powerful, and distinctive. Palace support wasn't unanimous. Some worried he'd exceeded boundaries. Murmurs suggested William had damaged crown foundations. His courageous moves had weakened something holy, the familial ties uniting monarchy. Emphasis moved from heritage to allegiance. Several palace members believed William had chosen honesty above unity. Others interpreted circumstances oppositely. They believed he'd broken destructive cycles. They also whispered, but hopefully. For them, William wasn't destroying but freeing. Royalty had concealed truths excessively, preserving images while internal issues worsened. Now, someone questioned established order, a future sovereign valuing openness above custom. Despite viewpoint, William's choice carried penalties. Quickly, stories circulated. Prince William and King Charles barely communicated. Their interactions became short and less warm than previously. Not apparent, yet noticeable. Camilla, previously central at family events, began withdrawing. Her participation decreased. Palace employees, renowned for a faithful, discreet service, began aligning. Some backed William, respecting courage. Others maintained conventional approaches, uncertain about sudden changes' outcomes. The future uncertain. Confidential sessions occurred secretly. Corridor glances intensified. Previous partners selected positions. The palace lost unity, becoming unsteady and divided. William advanced without retreat. Decision finalized. He clearly separated history from tomorrow. Despite possible expense, determination remained unchanged. Some thought him capable of guiding monarchy toward practical times. Audiences no longer wanted fantasies, but sought reality. Others warned he minimized institutional fragility. They worried exposed truths might cause unintended damage. External observers watched intently. Beyond news consumption, people noticed subtle indicators. They observed silences and event attendance patterns. They analyzed minor actions, greetings, looks, or absent phrases. The story exceeded news to intermediate instances. Within those silent spaces, clarity emerged. This exceeded single events, controversies, or disputes. It concerned a vital resolution by tomorrow's sovereign, potentially changing all. Prince William exceeded financial cessation. He didn't merely distribute documents or vocalize. He actually shattered long-standing quietness. This hush had occupied palace spaces for extensive periods, possibly centuries. It had concealed mistakes, settled disputes, and hidden issues. He abandoned that quietness, fully accepting personal truth. He communicated not just royally, but humanly. Monarchy faces critical juncture. Future path stays uncertain. Will it become more advanced and clear, matching evolving world requirements? Or stay static, grasping conventional methods, expecting problems will disappear and be dismissed globally? Palace inhabitants lack answers. Resolutions aren't ready. Choices remain incomplete. Time might expose reality or might not. However, certainty exists. External watchers continue observing. What future awaits Prince William's monarchy? Express your views below and remember to like, share, and subscribe. Before leaving, select a video displayed on screen.